Today we're going to make this sucky cover look a little bit more like this. Most people who are using AI to create their book covers do not understand some of the basics of design, and it absolutely shows in the output that they have. Let me give you an example. This is an example of what I often see people using in various communities out there where they're trying to create book covers with AI. And you can always tell if someone used AI, even if the AI isn't itself that easy to spot. You can always tell because they have this amazing background image, and then everything else about this whole book cover just sucks. So for instance, up here at the top, you see the name kind of washes out a little bit with the background. There's not enough contrast for this white text against the background here. You can also tell, obviously, the font here is just awful. Certainly doesn't match the genre at all. It's not really well placed. It's just a boring font. And of course, there's no texture or anything on the font, nothing to make it pop out and stand out and grab the reader's attention. And that's what we want. And you can always tell when there's just this amazing looking image with just horrible text and other poor design choices. So what we're going to do is take this and actually, I'm going to walk you through my process of how I made this book cover, a much better version of this book cover, using AI and a little bit of Photoshop. You could also use Canva for a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be showing you, but Photoshop is just what I have. I actually understand Photoshop better personally than I do Canva, and I'm just not willing to learn how to use Canva. So we're going to be using Photoshop, and I'm just going to give you a couple of the design tips that will make it much, much easier for you to create amazing looking book covers, even if you don't have very strong design skills. So let's get into it. Now, the first step, and this should always be your first step when deciding what your cover is going to look like, is to figure out what other books in your genre look like. What are some books that are similar to yours, and what do their book covers look like? And so for mine, I knew I was doing something, I'm doing a Lovecraftian retelling, and so I knew I needed something that was a little bit of like cosmic horror, maybe a little bit of fantasy, and a little bit of like horror thriller kind of vibes. And so I encountered two different covers that were kind of close to that range. This is admittedly a little bit of a niche book and not necessarily something where there's a ton of options out there to research, but I did find two that I liked. The first one was this Cthulhu-based urban fantasy called To Kill a Unicorn by John Corwin. And if you look at this cover, it's a pretty cool cover. There's texture on the font here. It's a really nice font. It's got this little divider here, which we'll get back to that. It's got the book cover or the book series name here and the author name up here. And there's texture to all of this. It's a really engaging image, really cool looking, etc. So this was my first one. The only problem with this is that it's a clear urban fantasy. It's a lot more in the vibes of the Harry Dresden series. And so it definitely has more of those Harry Dresden vibes, I feel, but it does have that Lovecraft connection and a little bit of fantasy. So I was definitely looking at it for inspiration. It's also a very successful book. It's got almost 1,300 reviews here on Amazon. So that was the first one that I really looked closely at. The second one was this one here by Robert Masello, and this is a book around the same time period as mine. So that was point number one that it had going for it. It's also a thriller, kind of a supernatural thriller, which is another thing that it's got that's very close to the book that I want to do. It's actually about H.G. Wells, but it's like a fictional narrative about H.G. Wells. And so this is more of a thriller style that you see here, but the overall tone, you can see it's got a little bit of a vignette where it sort of fades to black around the edges. The font I liked, it was this sort of almost Art Deco style. Definitely gave you that vibe of this is long ago. So what I ended up doing is kind of taking both of these and pulling elements from both to create what I wanted. And so that is the first step, is to actually do your research, and then you'll end up having something that's a lot more appealing to the right audience. You don't just need it to appeal to a audience, you need it to appeal to the right audience. So now let's go into Photoshop and I'll show you what I did. So this is the finished result that you see here. And as you can tell, it's a lot better than this sort of stripped down version that I developed here, just so you could see the contrast. Everything's a lot better. The font's better. It's got this little artifact here. I don't have texture on the name, but you can see it stands off in the background a little more. It's got that vignette around the edges. So how did I do this? I did use AI quite extensively in this entire process. First, let's talk about the background image. So this was developed in Midjourney, and I'll show you that. So here's the original image. Now you'll notice if you have like a nice big screen, and you can kind of blow this up. This is a little bit blurrier, not quite as crisp as what I have in Photoshop. And that's because once I had something that I liked, by the way, the tomb here is important to the story of this Lovecraft retelling that I created, which is why I'm showing the tomb here. So what I did is I downloaded this image, and I took it into a different tool called Magnific AI. And Magnific AI is an upscaler, meaning it takes it from a lower resolution to a higher resolution, which you're going to need if you want to publish something on Amazon. It needs to be a pretty high resolution to publish on Amazon. And a lot of the image generators don't get as high as it needs to be. And plus, the nice thing about Magnific is that it actually adds in little details. It doesn't just sort of blow it up, and you can still kind of tell there's like pixelation and stuff. It actually uses AI to create new details that match. Like if you look over here on this tree here, if you zoom in, you'll notice that the original image kind of like, you can tell there's some brush and stuff on here, but it's very vague and hard to point out. And then when you go through what Magnific did, you can actually see the individual pieces of ivy going up the tree. So it does a lot of stuff like that, where it's really useful and really makes the AI images look a little bit less AI because you're adding in a lot of that detail. Now, I was lucky with this one that I didn't really need to touch up any areas, but sometimes, you know, if a person has 6 fingers or if there's something that's just not quite right, you might have to take it into an in-painting solution. Midjourney offers those things, Ideogram offers that, but also Photoshop has some in-painting tools that are pretty good to try and fix little details like that. But fortunately, I did not need to do that for this image. However, I did need to do a little bit of cropping, or rather extending the edges. So one of the things you'll notice here, if I turn a lot of these things off, once I had the text and everything positioned, I realized I needed to position the image a little higher. And as a result, we sort of lost this little section here. Now, thankfully, Photoshop has a feature where you can extend the bottom of your image, or the, you know, any side of your image, to kind of cover up this little bit of extra space here. Thankfully, yeah, it didn't need to be perfect because it's going to be mostly darkened out anyway, but we needed to fill this. So I used Adobe's generative fill to fill this in, and that looks a little something like this. So now you can tell, you know, it looks like the image just continues on a little bit further. So that was one of the big important steps there. Now, another thing that I added that you will often see with book covers is a vignette, where it kind of gets darker around the edges. And I actually added 2 of them just to make it even darker. Now, I actually got these assets a long time ago, probably from another book cover that somebody else designed, and I just sort of took that asset and have been using it in other projects. I don't really remember exactly where I got them, but you can look up a whole bunch of tutorials about how to create vignettes in Photoshop. They're not that difficult to do. But as you can see, with them, it looks a lot more vibrant. The color is popping a little bit more, and it's faded at the edges, and it definitely has a little bit more of that mood compared to this, which just looks a little bit flatter and, you know, lacks that sort of dynamicness of the image. So we put those vignettes in there, and suddenly, to me, I think it looks a whole lot better with just that one change. Now let's talk about this little artifact that we added in here. So if we zoom in on it, you can tell there's actually a slight embossing happening. And what I ended up doing for this is I ended up using a different tool called Ideogram. Now, some of you have heard me talk about Ideogram, but the reason I used it instead of Midjourney or something else like that is because Ideogram is really good at graphic design elements. I'll even show you what I was getting in Midjourney. I was trying to create these banners with a Cthulhu in the center, and they were just looking like this, which is certainly nothing like what I actually needed. I needed something like flat, that would work, that's just like a graphic design element, and it just wasn't giving it to me in Midjourney. Additionally, I tried ChatGPT's new image generation filter, and I wasn't getting what I needed out of that either. Ideogram did it for me. Now, I did have to iterate multiple times to find something that I liked, and you can see I've got tons and tons of these that I created. But ultimately, I went with this one here that you see here. Now, I got rid of this text and we took this, and I wanted to make sure it was all one color and kind of having a sort of golden hue to it, and wanted to make it look like it was almost a physical object. And so to create that effect, I went into Photoshop and added a few effects to it. And you can see what those are here. Mostly it was this bevel and embossing tool, and I had to just play around with the depth and the size and everything. And then I made sure I had a color overlay of this yellowish color that, combined with the bevel and embossing, gave it this almost goldenish color. And it's just a hint of something to kind of make it look like that is a relief, and it's sort of popping up from the text or from the background. And so that's all I really wanted there. And this is just to add just a little dash of a highlight color, which really adds to the title. So speaking of the title, let's do that next. So I had both my name here and this little subtitle, A Lovecraft Retelling. These, I just found some fonts that I liked that I fit the genre, but there isn't much more to them. The only other thing that I added to these is, if you look at my name here, you can see I added a drop shadow here in Photoshop, which just helps it stand out from the background a little bit more. And if you zoom in on it, you can kind of see the drop shadow there. Just helps it stand out from the background a bit more, which is good. And then finally, we get the actual text. So first of all, this font, I did a lot of research. I even did a reverse search on the fonts that we have on those two images that I saw, and I found fonts that were similar to those and tested them out in here and saw which one I liked better. I liked this one better. I thought it fit. And I just spent a little time playing around with the layout of it, because sometimes with the little words like of and the, it's difficult to find a good place to place them. But I was ultimately happy with this one, where the tomb and the hides are the big ones that are the same size, and then we have of and the kind of squashed in the middle at a smaller font size. That's another thing that I see a lot of amateur people do when creating their own book covers, is they will have all of the words at the same font size, and that's usually not something that you want to do. You'll notice even some of the letters, like this U in unicorn and the N in unicorn, are bigger than the rest of the word, and so they will often play around with the text there to get that look. Ultimately, I was okay with this design, though. It's maybe not quite as complicated, but I liked it. And I almost left it at this, right? But I realized that there was a little bit more that I can add. I was inspired a little bit by you could see there's some like little cracks in texture on this. And there's even like a little bit of an embossing here on this text. So I thought this was a good idea. I wanted to do something similar, but rather than this sort of dry look, I wanted something that looked a little bit more like marble. And so once again, I went to Midjourney, and I got some of the textures like this, not quite marble exactly, but I didn't need it to be perfect. And I even took these images and used Midjourney's zoom out feature so that I would have even more lines and stuff in there. And I used one of these images. I don't think I went to Magnific to upscale that. No, I did not use Magnific to upscale this. That's fine, because it's not really an important detail. This was just something I was using as a texture. So once I took this image, I went in to Photoshop, and I took it and I just overlaid it on the image. The next thing that I did is, what you can do is you can take an image, see in my layers panel here, you can take an image and have it basically wrap itself around the asset that is directly beneath it. And this is called creating a clipping mask. So when I do that, it naturally wraps around the text here, so you can only see the texture where the text is. Also, you can see the slight bevel just gives this a little bit of depth. You can kind of see it here around the edges. It looks like it's slightly 3D right there. And little details like that make a huge difference, even though it's more subconsciously in the reader. But this wasn't quite right. I felt like this was almost too much. And so all I did was take that image and I reduced the opacity a little bit to somewhere around there. So it wasn't quite taking over as much, and a little bit of the whiteness of the text itself came through a little bit. So it was a little brighter while still having just a little bit of texture in there. And the end result is what you see here. And I thought this was a very good looking cover. And the nice thing about this is that for future book covers in this series, I don't have to do as much work because all I have to do is really just swap out the background image and then change the text. And as long as I do that and it looks good and it looks consistent with the other ones, then that's all I need to do. That's a really nice, handy thing about this. A lot of people think, well, I could just produce the whole cover, text and all, using AI, but that doesn't really work either because you have to have a way of moving the text around. Being able to swap out the background image for the sequel to this is super important, but leave the text exactly how it is. Right? And so you can't do that with AI. You can sometimes get it to generate book covers that look similar to each other, but you're running a very dangerous game of not having the ability to edit all of those little details. So I always keep things very much controlled in a tool like Photoshop. The other nice thing about everything I've done here is that it also allows me to get full copyright on this cover if I want. And the reason for that is even though AI images on their own, directly out of Midjourney or whatever you used for it, those are not copyrightable. They're essentially in the public domain. All of the work that I've done to manipulate this with the vignettes and the texturing and adding the text and adding the bevels and embossings and colors and everything, all of that gives me absolute free reign to get the copyright on this book cover. So I hope that was all useful for you. In the next video, I'm going to go into actually formatting and publishing this book that you see right here. You can actually find this on Amazon right now if you're interested. So in the next video, I will walk you through that entire process. Additionally, if you're interested, we have in my membership, we actually have a graphic designer who is also an expert on AI art, who has a weekly class in addition to everything else we do in the membership. I have classes in there. We have a developmental editor who has a class, but he is the guy who will actually help you figure stuff like this out, to understand what makes a good book cover and how to understand the basics of Photoshop and all of these other AI tools to get the best results that you need for your book covers or for concept art or whatever your art needs might be. So I hope this was useful for you, and I'll see you in the next video.